What radio? The music you want.
With your host, Keys Dan.
I am the smartest man alive!
RadioWhat.com.
What's up, party people? It's Keys Dan with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live and in living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Famous. It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where to? Where do I go? I need DJ services. DJLittleRock.com. Check availability, get a free price quote, and maybe you can have me. Yeah. Me. Let me entertain you. Well, I probably won't sing, although I do specialize in video dance parties and karaoke jams. Ask me what that's all about. Today on the program, I'm kind of excited. I get to meet a very nice lady. At least I really do think she's a very nice lady. Her name is LynEtte Wyatt Mason, and she runs an Instagram page. And at the end of the Instagram name, it says cookies, homemade cookies. So maybe I'll get some cookies. I'm going to get some cookies. So we have that to look forward to in the next few minutes, taking a talk to LynEtte Wyatt Mason. This week's shows tomorrow night, as it is Friday night, I will be at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas. Video dance party karaoke jam. You're the stars of the show. They have a full bar. The kitchen is open. They got wings, burgers, and the Jersey Girl pizza. You don't want to miss that. That's right. Get out to the Rab in Conway, Arkansas, 8 p.m. until almost 2 a.m. And they have 10 pool tables, a pool tournament going on. So if you want to make some money while you're hanging out on a Friday night, having some fun with yours truly, come on out and join the pool tournament. Maybe you could make some money. And they have the party patio, also has Jenga and foosball and, the shuffleboard. That's right. And the checkers, a giant checkers game. So while you're waiting to sing your song and be a star on the stage, you can have some fun at the Rab. That's right. The dance floor is always open, and you know I'm going to keep it live. Who knows what I'm going to play? What theme is it going to be? Maybe you can decide the theme this week at the Rab. Friday night, that's tomorrow night, 8 p.m. until 2 a.m. Well, without further ado, let's get to talking to Lynn Wyatt Mason. When we first talked about doing the podcast, I didn't know how far away she lived. So I said, well, we could do it on the phone. That would be fine. And she said, well, no, I want to do it in person. And I said, yeah, I like doing it in person. I asked her where she lived, and she said, Maumelle, Arkansas. That's a simple 27 minutes away from me right here in Conway, Arkansas. So I said, yeah, I'll take that drive. Where do you want to meet? She said, U.S. Pizza in Maumelle, Arkansas. So let's drive over to U.S. Pizza in Maumelle, Arkansas and visit with Lynn Wyatt Mason now.
This is Dan.
We're good to go.
I'm LynEtte.
Nice to meet you.
And what was your name?
Lexi.
Hi, Lexi.
Hello, Lexi. You're on the What Makes You Famous podcast. Yes.
Don't worry, this is my first time too.
Okay, cool.
Oh, I am? Wow. Okay.
We're newbies.
I'd like a Coke. How about that?
May I have a water and a Diet Coke, please?
Water and a Diet Coke,
Yes, thank you.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
We're at U.S. Pizza in Maumelle, Arkansas. When I asked LynEtte Wyatt Mason, the highway shop and homemade cookie girl, to be on the podcast, this is where she chose. Yeah, I had to close my eyes and really think to make sure that I got her whole name and her whole Instagram thing out. I hope I did it right. Did I?
You didn't? You
No.
did not?
Okay, well,
now I feel so bad to correct.
No, tell me all about it.
The name is correct.
Okay.
And although if you were my elementary school teacher, you would probably mispronounce it and you would not put a capital E in the middle because for some reason my mother thought that was essential in my name. Why? Why did she do that to me?
We'll give the people the correct pronunciation.
But it is LynEtte, so you got the name correct. But my Instagram is Highways Hope and Homemade Cookies.
Highways
Hope. And
Highways Shop and Highways Hope. Okay, I can see where I flubbed. I missed that E on the way out of there.
Yeah, no worries.
So Highways Hope and
Homemade cookies.
Homemade cookies. Why Highways Hope?
Highways Hope because of my love of travel.
Okay.
Hope because I have a son with special needs.
Dig it.
Yeah, and then homemade cookies because for no other reason I'm from the South and I have baked my whole entire life and cookies make people happy. In fact, I just happen to have some for you.
We just started the podcast and she's already presenting me with cookies.
Yes,
this is a cookie maker.
I am.
Right here in Maumelle, Arkansas. Now, do you have a shop?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't have a shop, but I do actually make jewelry at a friend of mine's boutique here in Maumelle called Shine. It's a women's boutique.
LynEtte, there's many facets of you.
Yes, there are.
All right, give the people, now that we've kind of gotten into the podcast a little bit, give the people like an overall who you are and what you do, kind of the first paragraph in a Wikipedia page, and then we go to the next few paragraphs where we start with early life and how you started doing these things. So we'll do it like a Wikipedia page. Give the blurb at the top on your Wikipedia page, LynEtte.
I am a wife and a mother, and I married my high school sweetheart, and I am a creative by heart, and I feel a lot of pressure when I'm visualizing the Wikipedia page blurb.
Go through like a little piece of your life. What are the most important things? And you already said wife and mother. Those absolutely have to be the most important things in your life right now.
They are very much so the most important things. Most importantly is my husband.
Yes,
and,
you mentioned him first.
I did because we just recently celebrated our 30th wedding anniversary.
Mazel tov. May the honeymoon never end.
Yeah, we were in Kansas City and we had an amazing time. And our first date was our junior prom.
What?
And,
so actually a high school sweetheart.
Actually a real high school sweetheart. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Where did you grow up, LynEtte?
We grew up in Elkins. And
Where's
a lot
Elkins?
of people know Elkins outside of Fayetteville. It's on the Pig Trail. And a lot of people will know and are familiar with if they're driving through Arkansas, especially from Little Rock to Fayetteville. They take that Pig Trail. It's a scenic route, Highway 23, and Elkins is dab smack right there, right before you get into Fayetteville. And most people know it because they've been pulled over.
Okay, I've been all over the central and south. My DJ travels have taken me to a lot of weddings throughout there, but I haven't been to the northwest yet, to Fayetteville in that area.
Haven't? Oh my goodness.
So I need to get there. I've been to Harrison. I've done a wedding up there, and I've been down to Wilhelmina Mountain. Haven't made it down as far as El Dorado, but so you're from the Fayetteville area, Elkins. Was that a smaller town?
Elkins is a smaller town. We had 29 graduating students from our high school class. You can laugh, and we giggle about it because we totally go back. We say we have to go back for our class reunion because we're 2 of the 29.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So very small. It's much larger now.
Okay.
Just simply because the whole Ozark area in Fayetteville, Bentonville, Rogers, all that area, I'm sure you've heard, is just grown. It's amazing. It's huge. And it's one of the number one places to live, actually.
Well, it's a college town, and the surrounding areas are filled with college kids that never wanted to leave, I'm guessing. Is that what you get out of that, or do you think there's another reason for the growth up there?
Oh, the growth is it's a lot. Just from the little bit of knowledge that I have that has to do. We moved away, so I think yes, a lot of people do stay there, but probably more so now than back even in the height of its growth. I think it's kind of like what a lot of people say about Chenal and Maumelle when they're transient, when they're moving. I think they say, Oh, they Google it, do a little Wikipedia search, and they say, where should we live if we're moving to Arkansas? Because their first reaction is, Arkansas? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So I think they look it up, and that pops up as great schools. It's a beautiful area. The climate is good.
Elkin, you mean? Elkin.
Oh, no.
No.
Fayetteville. The
Fayetteville.
area.
Fayettille
And Elkins is just about
proper.
15, 20 minutes.
Okay, so
yeah.
Fayettille
I'm talking
proper
specifically about
is
Fayettille.
the growth.
Okay. And then Elkins, of course, has been a part of that growth simply because it's, just 15, 20 minutes outside of it.
Well, I was convinced to move to Conway, Arkansas because of the growth there, the way that Conway Core is set up, where all your utilities are all put together in one. Do they have that kind of a thing up in Fayetteville? Do you know? Or is your family still up there?
No, actually my mother moved away and my father was from Texas. So
okay.
I don't really know all those exacts.
Okay. So when did you get out of? Did you grow? You grew up and you went to high school
in
Elkins, just outside of Fayetteville. How was it growing up in a small town for
awesome.
you, LynEtte Wyatt Mason? And I'll say your name several times so people will follow you and stalk you. And stalk is a very accurate word, but hopefully they'll follow you and get your cookies. And that's not a metaphor. That means real cookies.
Real cookies.
Get the cookies.
That's right. I'm all about getting the real cookies to the real people.
Yes.
So it was wonderful. My mother and father were actually from Brownsville, Texas. So most of my family is all from Texas. So I feel like big love for Texas and people from Texas. And but they knew land was fairly inexpensive in Arkansas, and they had done a lot of research. And they moved, they got married, they moved, they went to the university and bought land, and that's how we ended up here. And
so they went to Arkansas.
They did, University of Arkansas.
Oh,
they
fantastic!
Did, yeah.
Okay.
And then
what kind of studies did they do?
My mother is a teacher. She's an earth science teacher.
Earth science. I like teachers.
Yeah.
You do something wrong to make you do it over again.
They do.
And then Dad?
My father, he's always had his own business. So he moved to Tulsa area, and then he's lived in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and then recently has moved back up to the Fayetteville area.
But what kind of work?
He's retired now.
But what kind of work did he do in his real life?
Oh, let's see. He's done a little bit of everything.
I like that.
He's a very creative
entrepreneur,
spirit.
I suppose.
Exactly, very much so. He had a really interesting job in the very beginning. He would bring potting soil from Mexico. And
that sounds pretty interesting.
Walmart was one of his first clients. So
I think I heard a joke yesterday. I got dirts for you. I'll get you any kind of dirts you want. So your dad actually did get the dirts that you wanted.
He sure did.
So the dirt in Fayetteville is not good. You have to get it from Mexico.
Oh, I couldn't give you. I was a child.
One of the many things that you have to import from Mexico is dirt.
Potting soil, yes,
potting soil.
And pots. Yeah, who even knew? Okay,
that's fantastic. No, it sounds like a joke, but it sounds pretty interesting too.
He is very interesting.
Yeah.
And I attribute much of my characteristics and personality from my father. We've never known a stranger. So, but I also think it integrated a lot of my love of travel because my parents divorced when I was really young.
Same.
But I would jump in that big old truck and ride with him. It didn't matter where it was. He just said, "Do you want to go?" And I was there. And
so he had a truck. Was he a truck driver, or he had a?
He initially started out that way.
He was a truck driver?
Well, he would drive the trucks and then got bigger trucks, and the business grew and grew and grew. And I'm not saying that he even still has that business. You need to understand.
No, I get
He's had many businesses.
I get it. He's moved on from there. You said he had
so much
his
more.
hands in many pots, and it might have affected how you grew up.
It ultimately really did because I spent many years, my whole life, going back and forth between the two different lifestyles of my parents.
Right.
My mother grew everything in our gardens. We ate everything straight from the earth.
Okay.
I learned how to sew. We did not have a television, and that was by choice.
Okay.
Because she just wanted us to be creative and use our minds, and she was forever the teacher. And then my father, we would take amazing trips to Disney World, Disneyland, Yellowstone. We traveled and we did wonderful things.
So you did Disney World and Disneyland?
Oh yeah, we've been able to travel.
Coast to coast.
Yeah, and
that's incredible. How often did you do either one?
Oh, not very often. I just it's in the memory of way back there. But I one of the biggest memories was Yellowstone. I do remember. I remember at the time he had one of those Broncos that you see everybody like in all the videos now. And everyone's restoring those old Broncos.
Yeah.
That's what we went to Yellowstone in.
I learned how to drive in a Blazer, I think a 3-speed Blazer.
Yeah.
And my mom scared out of her wits with a young Keys Dan in a little Blazer trying to figure out how to drive.
And this is in Florida?
Oh, in Florida.
Oh, but their roads are flat.
Oh, sure they are.
See, if you've ever been to Fayetteville, you would know they're massive hills and mountains.
And this is where you learn how to
yes,
drive,
and on a stick shift, yes.
On
same
a stick
thing.
shift.
Exactly the same. In fact, my new Jeep, I have a new, it's not exactly new now.
She's
but
not bragging.
I'm not, but I love it so, because I had to wait my whole life for that Jeep.
Yes.
I had to have a family and children, and they weren't safe. And then once my daughter got married, that was
Then it's time for LynEtte
yes,
to
it
break
was
free.
time for me, exactly.
Yes.
And they ordered, I couldn't find one that was a manual, so I had them order, if you want to do a little plug for Landers.
Yeah.
Because I think they're amazing, and we bought all our vehicles from them. They found my current Jeep and brought it from St. Louis because
Go
it was
Landers.
a 6-speed. Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
Excellent.
Yeah.
LynEtte Wyatt Mason, we're getting to know you on the What Makes You Famous podcast, hanging out in U.S. Pizza in Maumelle, Arkansas. We're just at the beginnings. Your early life on the outskirts of Fayetteville, and you say growing up there was pretty cool. How many kids in the whole school, if only 30 were in that graduating class?
Oh, wow, you're asking me numbers. I'm not a numbers girl.
Approximately.
I couldn't
and do you
even
know
begin to
a
guess.
lot of them, in the small town?
We did growing up.
Yeah.
And we knew, of course, our surrounding neighbors growing up.
See, it's nice. You knew neighbors.
We did.
Yes,
We
people
totally
don't know
knew
their
our
neighbors anymore.
Yeah, it was wonderful. We did know our neighbors. And so, everybody knew everybody. Very much so. It was very nice.
So, as a kid, what kind of fun did you get into? What kind of activities were you involved in, or did you have any extracurriculars in school?
I did, yes. I was a cheerleader.
What did you, a cheerleader? That's cool.
My mission in life is I'm still constantly cheering everybody on.
Yes.
It's been actually a quality that's been very beneficial to our family, and then especially my son with special needs, because that's been something that has almost been instilled in me, is to always be cheering everyone on, but especially for him.
You have a smiley face. You're cheering. You were instantly very welcoming to me when I walked in the door. We'd never met each other in person ever before, and that's fantastic. I instantly felt warmth from you, LynEtte.
Oh, thank you, Dan.
And I can tell you do that quite often. You said you never met a stranger, just like your dad taught you. Never met a stranger. Always be friends. Always be friendly to people. That's a good thing.
Well, thank you.
Oh, yes.
I believe that too.
Well, thank you. So you're a cheerleader, and you have a high school sweetheart. What did the hubby do?
His name was Brian.
When he was in school?
When he was in school, he was into a lot of mischief.
Okay.
And my GPS
Why do good girls
dropped.
like bad boys? Why do good girls like bad boys?
He was not. He was actually new to the school, and so I actually really didn't even know anything about him. I just knew who he was.
Yes.
And we had recently. We had friends suggest, why don't you go with each other to the prom? So I remember climbing up the bleachers. He still laughs. I remember climbing up the bleachers in my little cheerleading skirt, and I looked over at him and I said, so, what do you think? And he goes, what do you think? And I go, no, you know. And he goes, no. I'm like, what do you think? And he goes, I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. And he made me basically ask him.
Come on.
He did.
You go, boy.
So
you asked him to the junior prom.
I did.
And you had never dated really before that.
Dated
him?
Oh, it didn't. No, not at all.
No.
I don't even think we really spoke, other than
Right.
he would just do goofy things, and we really didn't have very many classes together. So I just sort of knew he was the new guy,
New kid from Texas.
No, he was actually from the Springdale area.
Springdale.
Which considered in Elkins, that was a big school.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
He's the new kid in town.
Yeah, from the big school.
From the big school.
Yeah.
But he was, all right, he was into mischief, you say. I'll
was
put the
just
quotation
silly.
fingers up. But
He was just
you said he
funny.
wasn't really a bad boy.
No, not
But
at all.
was he a jock? I mean, you had cheerleaders and jocks.
He played
they seem
basketball.
to go together.
He played
Okay.
basketball. Yeah.
And you never knew him from the basketball days when you were cheering him on?
Well, I'm trying to remember. I don't even really. You got to remember that's been a while. I can't even really
It hasn't
remember
been that
him.
long.
No.
You're like 22.
Oh, I wish. I wish.
All right.
No, I don't even remember him being on the team. He might have been on. I think it was a grade issue. I feel like I'm calling it. I feel like I'm throwing him under the bus a little bit.
Okay.
He might have just been kind of goofing around and his GPS, because I know he was on the team. But, I mean, he was really new to the school at that point. So.
Well, cool. He's the new kid, and you're the cheerleader, and you're very welcoming to people, and you welcomed him into your school by asking him to the prom.
I did.
How did that go?
It was awesome.
It was awesome.
It was. He came and picked me up, and he had an older brother. He picked me up in his car, and he had a corsage, and his little hands were shaking. And I was like a student council member or a vice president of our class or something. I hate to be quoted. I might be wrong, but I was like I had something, and I had to give a speech at the head table, and I remember being so nervous.
Right.
And he was so. I don't know, just the way he looked at me and the way he held my hand. I mean, granted, this is 16 years old. How would you know this? But it was just something about the way he held my hand. Yeah. And he knew I was nervous, but he was so calming. And just, I ran over to my best friend at the time and I said, "Oh my gosh, this is the guy I'm going to marry." Because you know everything when you're 16, right?
Absolutely. I remember when I was 16, I knew everything. Now I know nothing.
Exactly.
And now I'm learning stuff from LynEtte right now. So what was his name again?
Brian.
Brian, setting the bar high at an early age, bringing corsages, making sure the girl's got a ride, making sure she feels comfortable, holding her hand just the right way, not very nervously, but, making you feel comfortable. And it was love at first date. Because you said you're going to marry that boy.
I did.
And you did.
I did.
Spoiler alert. Oh, I should have said that first.
I know.
You married that boy.
I did.
So what was the dating like? Since he's a big part of your life, what was the courtship life until dating? And then we'll go back a little bit and find out about your school life and what happened after school.
Well, we dated through high school, and I think I might have mentioned already, my grades kind of went down a little. My GPS, man.
Brian,
we had a lot of fun in class together.
Okay.
It was really special I think just for anyone to be able to say and look back, especially after so many years, and say, "Oh my gosh, we were in Mrs. Smith's class, and remember that time when you have these stories and these connections and this history together."
Right.
And so we dated the rest of our high school years, which is about a year and a half.
Sure.
And then after the day after graduation, I moved to Texas. I was going to go live with my dad.
Okay.
And so I left, and we were.
You left him.
I just left everything.
I left everybody.
My home, my parents.
Had you kept in touch with your dad throughout high
yes,
school?
Sir. Mm-hmm, I did.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
so he'd come to visit from time to time?
Not so much.
Or on the phone at least?
Exactly. We just stayed in touch.
Good.
Yeah, I would go for visits. I would go for visits, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, daddies and their girls, it's a special kind of bond, and I'm glad that you had that connection. So when you went to Texas, what happened?
That was one of my dad's other business adventures. He had started a business, an advertising business,
yes.
And I helped him do that and went to a junior college. But meanwhile, Brian and I had remained together. We decided to do a long-distance courtship.
Right.
And that was really cool because that was when flights, like you could get a flight on Southwest for the weekend for like $50.
Oh,
and
I did not know this.
It was incredible.
What year was this, if you don't mind?
Oh, yeah, I'm going to age myself.
No, hey, I'm 50. I'll say it.
I graduated.
I'll say it loud.
We graduated 86.
Class of 86 rules. Dap it.
No way.
That's
We're the
me.
same class.
Western High School, class of 86. Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Navy, I guess, Florida.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, it is awesome. We're going to say awesome a lot, and totally, and gnarly.
That's
and,
right,
yes,
because we're at class of 86.
Class of 86 rules. We dap it again.
So yeah, that really, truly, you could like fly from Dallas to Little Rock.
Yeah.
Because he had moved at that time here to this area, and he was living with his dad going to school.
Okay,
and
we're in the Maumelle, Arkansas, Little
we're in
Rock
Little Rock.
area.
He was in Little Rock,
Sure.
Yes, sir. And so he was in Little Rock, and so at the time you could get those flights, and it was pretty cool. Yeah.
So he would go and visit as often as he possibly could.
We really did. We did that. No, I wouldn't say every single weekend, but we did.
So this is a long distance relationship that worked out.
It did.
So when you were in Dallas doing the advertising thing, how did you help Dad in that respect? Did you go out and get clients, or schmooze people, or what did you do, LynEtte, Wyatt, Mason?
I did a little bit of everything because it was the beginning stages of his business. I mean, everything from helping him choose the office to setting up, like this first time, all of us had used a computer. I remember that was the first time we'd ever had.
86.
Yeah.
What were you on, an Apple?
87.
Apple II, Lisa?
Who even knows? Tap, tap, tap. I
A
don't
Timex,
even know.
it's barely a calculator, really.
It wasn't even my strong point. So I really, if I could get as far away from it as I could, even still now, I mean, if I didn't have it in my hand, I would never be on a computer.
Yeah.
So yeah, I helped him do that, and we did go out and meet clients, and did a little bit of everything, and did some creative.
So when you went to school, what did you study? And were you studying in Texas?
I just went to a junior college, and so studying and school were not my strong points.
No,
by
me
any
too.
means.
Same.
Yeah, not even in the least. I
went to college a bunch of times.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't the least bit. So I actually was just going to get my basics.
Yes.
But I ultimately thought I would end up in fashion merchandising.
Me too.
Yeah.
DECA, Distributive Education Clubs of America. Almost got to the Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale.
Did you really?
Almost.
This is true.
Designed my own clothes for a fashion show. Breakdancing on stage in clothes that I designed with my grandmother's help.
Really?
So yeah, there's a little bit about me.
Fascinating.
Fashion marketing. I was there.
I think you're way ahead of me. Even.
No, I was there. So
because they had the Art Institute in Dallas, so that's where I was ultimately hoping to be.
And did you at least visit?
Oh yeah,
I had a visit. I never went to the Art Institute.
Yeah, no, I didn't either. But we can say we were there.
We were there.
That was our goal.
Well, I've been to the Art Institute for lunch. They have a good salad bar. So
I told you not to make me laugh.
No, I will make you laugh. Now, last night, full disclosure, you thought the podcast was last night.
I did,
and you had your voice was gone.
It was coming and going. Well, last week my husband didn't feel well, and so we had done this trip to Kansas City, and I'm like, you better not get me sick.
Oh.
So anyway, whatever little funk he had got passed on to me. So, but it's gone and over, and I'm hoping I'm not contagious.
Yay, we're back. Yes.
Yeah.
All right, we're back in Dallas, advertising business, and you're learning the advertising business. And that's one of your dad's schemes, if I could put it that way.
He was actually learning all along the way himself.
And you were helping him while he was learning.
Yeah,
all right, so how did he get involved in the advertising business and then drag you into it?
I think he just, on a whim, thought it seemed like a good idea. He had this idea that he would go, it was back when coupons were so big, and he had this idea, it was called business to business distribution, and that he would just go door to door distributing coupons.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So was it successful? Did he have any success of it? How long did that last?
Temporarily. It was a temporary.
How long did it last?
Maybe a couple of years.
A couple of years.
Yeah. Let's just
and you spent the whole time in Dallas, Texas, in that area?
In the area. Mm-hmm. Actually, on North Richland Hills, that Grapevine area that's grown so much. I don't know if you ever spent any time in Texas, but
I've been
that area has flourished, and it's grown.
So any fun times there? Any experiences in Dallas besides work?
No. It was fun. I always probably choose fun above work.
Oh, for sure.
Unfortunately, sometimes.
You better.
Yeah.
We don't work to live or live to work. We learn, work because it's a necessity, and then you go out and you have fun.
Mm-hmm. We did. It was actually a pleasure to be able to work and spend that time with my dad. We got to know each other really, really well. We learned how to communicate and what were ways that were not good ways to communicate with one another.
Okay.
So it was a good time for us. It was a really good time too for Brian and I, because it, I believe, made us know, and it just we both put so much effort into the beginning stages of our relationship and our love. So
I'm sure it added concrete to the relationship, because he or you could have said this is too much and gone separate ways, but because you did not, that solidifies everything. That means that you are meant to be together, for lack of a better term. So you got Brian, you're the man, and you're it, pal. So yeah, you're stuck with this girl, and that's a wonderful thing. So cool. And then after Dallas, after the advertising business, anything else in Dallas, or you hightailed it out of there?
I stayed for about a year, and
After the business closed up?
No, actually, just through that whole process of the first year, about a year, year and a half. I bought my first car there. I had a little RX-7, and I had the little
Mazda,
Mazda, and it was a little stick shift, and that was a lot of fun. So, after that, I decided, I need to get a little serious about school, and I moved back home to the Fayetteville area.
To
go to the U of A.
All right. Well, Big Suey, you did it.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm not graduated.
Oh, okay.
I jump in that little RX-7 and haul down the pit.
Spoiler alert.
No, don't go look me up. I don't have a degree.
Okay.
I would get up in the morning and think, I'm going to go to class. I'm going to do it. I'm going to be so good. I'm going to go to class. And I had a choice. It was 50-50. If I went left, I could zoom right into Fayetteville and be on time and be at my class. Or I would look at my watch and I'd go, I can be in Little Rock in 2.5 hours.
Yes, you can.
If I go really fast.
Yes, you can. In your RX-7.
And that's what I would do.
Little sports car.
So that's really what I did, Dan.
LynEtte's tooling down I-40 and
I am
getting to Little Rock to go see her love.
Yep, exactly. Yep. And so, I ended up here.
And you just ended up staying here more than going to school.
Exactly. So instead of getting the degree, I ended up moving down here and getting a job. And what year would this be? Probably 90, 91, or maybe early 90s? It was late 80s. Because our daughter was born in 90.
Oh, fantastic. All right, spoiler alert. She's got a kid.
I do.
At least one.
Yeah.
So, when did you actually get married then?
89.
89. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. And you got married here in the Little Rock area?
No, we got married in the Glass Chapel in Eureka Springs.
Oh, that's supposed to be a real pretty place. I've been invited to go there, but unfortunately I already had other weddings booked. I DJ, for the people that don't know yet, really. You've been listening to how many of these podcasts? Yes, you know I'm a DJ. So, how was Eureka Springs and the Glass Chapel? I've seen pictures.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It was very beautiful. It was an evening wedding, so there were candles, and it was, close family. And then we were laughing about this this weekend because we drove back that night and stayed the night in Little Rock, and then caught a flight and went to Cancun for our honeymoon.
Nice.
So it was kind of funny because we were both exhausted, but there weren't any flights out of Eureka Springs. There wasn't even an airport in that area at that time. So
usually most people will tell you the first night, don't expect anything on your honeymoon. Just go to sleep, get a good night's sleep.
You'll make up for it on the honeymoon.
And then you'll make up for it. That's right. So you're spending some time in Cancun. That was nice.
It
was that your first time out of America? Or
no, I've been to Mexico before.
You've been to Mexico,
family,
like family trips.
with my family living in Brownsville, we would go over to Matamoros.
What's Brownsville?
Brownsville, Texas. It's right there in the Gulf, very, very tip of the.
Okay.
If you're looking at a map, it's the very, very southernmost part, and then Matamoros, Mexico is right over the Rio Grande.
We're learning geography with LynEtte. That's fantastic. So you've been to Mexico, but Cancun, how was that? How was the honeymoon?
It was wonderful.
Yes.
We were young, and we were inexperienced, and we did not have very much money, and we did not care for any of the Mexican cuisine because it was authentic, not what we knew as here.
Yeah.
And I was paranoid about drinking the water and the ice, but it was amazing. It was all about us. So we did have to call my father-in-law, and he did come give us some money so we could pay for our parking that we had left. And so, we weren't necessarily very good planners.
Well, that's a good thing about family is you can always count on family. Or usually, more often than not, family you can count on. Stick with your relatives, as you can, friends. Blood is important because you can always go, Mom, I need help. Dad, I need help, and they're usually going to help you, aren't they? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what we do for our kids. So, very quickly, you had children. Mm-hmm. You got married.
Mm-hmm. We had our daughter Chloe.
Yay, Chloe!
Yeah. Yep.
And how did that feel becoming
that was
a mama?
amazing. I always knew at a very, very young age that I wanted to be a mother. I mean, with my mother being a teacher, and education was so important in our family, and my brother continued, and he's still continuing his education. He's works for the National Weather Service. He's a meteorologist. And
Dig it.
so, yeah, it's very cool.
Is he the guy that comes over my radio whenever there's a tornado coming?
He's not the specific guy, but
Right.
he's the one that helps. I mean, they're all specific to your area
Yes.
regionally, but he's the one that does all the science and the math and the hard work behind.
That's
It's all hard
fantastic.
work. I'm not saying it's not hard work,
Oh, I'm
but he's
sure.
the one that does the behind the scenes, and he lives in Idaho, so
Yes.
he is really, he has to know the fire, the weather for the fires. They're so big, the wildfires in the summers, and then the flooding in the spring.
Such
and
an
summer.
important job.
It is. It's an
Yeah.
amazing job. I'm so proud of him.
Yeah. Be proud of him, of course.
Very proud of him.
Fantastic.
Yes,
All right.
Yeah. So
That's-
so
and that's your
education
one
was
brother?
really my one brother, and education
Okay.
was just so important in our family. But I just knew, like always, I wanted to be a wife and a mother, and I think, yes, it would have probably been fine to go ahead and continue with my degree, but if you know what you're gonna do and you're passionate about it and what you want, then
Well, first of all, you want to be a wife. You
Exactly.
mentioned that right off in your bio, and then you said mother right off in your bio. So you did those things.
I
By
did.
90, you were both.
Yeah, I was.
And how did that feel?
It was
How did that
amazing.
change your life?
I love being a mother. I love it so much. It was wonderful. Chloe was just the light of my life. Parenthood really does change you. It was wonderful to be able. We kind of grew up together. I had her when I was 22, so
Okay, yeah.
I feel like we've kind of grown up. I mean, I know I'm the mother, but it was a wonderful experience to be a younger mother, and for us to experience so many things and to have this energy and this. I would get out on the floor with her and play with her and all her friends, and I was very involved, homeroom mom, all those things. I mean, being a mother was a priority, so any type
Right.
of job or profession or anything I've ever done was always second to whatever her schedule and her
So
needs were.
At this point, were you having to work outside of the house?
I did. I worked part-time at the Colony Shop, which was a ladies' fashion boutique at the time. They were throughout the state of Arkansas.
Were you
And,
able to take the kid to work sometimes? Maybe
everybody
when you were
loved
small?
her. It was so amazing.
When she was small?
Yes, it was so.
She's a nice accessory.
Oh, she was, with her big old bow, and even somebody commented on I had a Facebook post yesterday, and someone commented she's expecting. So
Oh,
we made the
yes.
announcement that it's a girl, and so
I've already stalked your Facebook page. I know. You're expecting. I saw the puff of smoke. It was pink.
it was pink.
Hey,
Yay!
so if you didn't know yet, now you know.
So yeah, even someone commented. They're like, "Oh, I wish the Colony Shop was still there, so Chloe's little daughter would be able to go and pick out a little Dooney and Burke." So yeah.
So where was Colony Shop? Where were
It
you?
was in
you were
Lakewood Village. It was in North Little Rock. We lived in North
living
Little
around
Rock.
this
Mhm.
area
Yeah.
in Maumelle,
Yeah,
North Little Rock area.
Yeah.
Since you got married,
Yes.
you've been in the same area.
We have.
Well, cool. That's
We
staying
have.
power. So 90, Chloe, Colony Shop, not there anymore. How long
No.
were you at the Colony Shop? Or
11 years.
See, you do have staying power and
See, I feel
loyalty.
like I don't, because I feel
You
very
do.
fickle
You-
about so many things.
But you like
I'm
to do
here
different
today,
things.
Gone tomorrow.
I like to have my hands in different things, but I
had my
stay.
staying power
Yeah,
for
I've
my
been in
due
radio
time.
since '86.
Oh,
I've
yeah?
been a DJ since
Oh, yeah.
'86.
Well, there you go.
My mom keeps telling me to get a real job. Well, maybe I will.
It is
Maybe
a
I
real
will.
job.
You're
paying your bills.
We do what we can, right? And I guess, I got a day job, somewhat. And the podcasting, that's something just recent. Doesn't make any money, but I have fun talking to people. So LynEtte, Wyatt, Mason, we are chit-chatting about you. And you're telling people about your life and how you became who you are right now. So go on.
Go on. So after my 11 years at the Colony Shop, I have always been excited about travel in any format. If it's, my mother's always lived about 3 hours away. I mean, even if it's just for the weekend, jumping in my vehicle and taking my family. I mean, it just felt like a mini road trip, but I'm on the road, I'm going, I'm exploring. And there was an opportunity at the time. I do remember my friend. she was a flight attendant for Southwest Airlines. And they, at the
same
time...
airlines that help you keep your relationship together.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and so,
beautiful.
So they were, at the time, interviewing, and apparently the interview process was like this really big deal. So if you got an interview, that was like exciting, and if you made it past the second level or the first and second level, that was like a really big deal. It was to me, of course. And so I got a job at their customer call service area, and so I did that for a while.
But that's not the flight service. I think my mother had the similar job at Delta, where she had the headphones on and
you did
and booked flights, I guess.
Yeah, and
that's what you were doing.
I did that. Yeah, it was really cool. And then I trained to be a customer care rep for a little while, and that was fun. And so I only did that for a few years. I would.
But cheap flights, cheap or free flights, right?
They were amazing.
Yeah.
You just grabbed you
that was
flew
one
for
thing.
free.
When Mom worked for Delta, I was everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
We had family trips everywhere, and I'm guessing you did too.
Yeah, we did.
Where'd you go?
Yeah, like if Chloe, I don't remember what grade, she was learning about the coast and the redwoods, and I said, do you want to go? And we just jumped on a plane. And you could fly for a certain discounted rate on other airlines too. So that was always awesome. And our first trip to Hawaii, same thing. We jumped on United and flew to Hawaii.
Was Mr. Bryan able to break away from what he was doing?
Oh, we did. We broke him away multiple times. But yeah, it was a great experience for Chloe growing up.
Yes.
To get to fly.
And experience life, experience what you were studying in school.
Yeah,
and being able to go back to the kids in school and say, hey, you know what I did? I saw that stuff.
It would be so weird because they would be like opening her textbook and, doing homework, and there's a picture and it's explaining by definition coastline, redwoods, and she's like, I got to see those.
That's right.
And we kind of reenacted that one of our first trip to the redwoods a couple of years ago. We took a mother-daughter road trip.
Oh,
and
sweet.
we were gone, and we hit a bunch of national parks, and ultimately we were making it to the redwoods in Northern California, and it was amazing for her to get to experience it all those years later, and it more than lived up to her expectation, from her memory as a child. So yeah,
Did you feel the memories? Did you do a lot of crying, a lot of hugging? Oh, remember that?
Well, I don't know, hugging on the trees for sure.
Yes.
Tree huggers. So yeah, and she.
Well, Mom in the earth science instilled that to you from an early age.
Well, she did, and it was a really interesting role as a mother to my own daughter, who's now an adult, because she had this role of like a provider, and she just went to work and like we actually camped, and so she went straight to work and set up our tent and built the fire, and I mean it was really an incredible experience for a mother to get to see my daughter be so grown up, I guess.
You're looking at her saying, I did good. I raised that.
I'm so proud
of her. You made a little human.
Yeah, there she is, tapping away on the little hammer. Yeah, putting up her shelter for the night.
Go get him, Mom.
It was awesome.
You took care of her, she's taking care of you.
Yeah, it was really cool.
All right, LynEtte, Wyatt, Mason, we are continuing through. You have Chloe, and you're done with the dress shop, the boutique, and you're working now doing the call center for Southwest Airlines, but getting able to travel all over. And where did you go? I mean, besides the redwoods and the coast, where else did you go?
We just mainly stayed within the United States. I've been to all the states except for Alaska. So yeah, so we mainly just stayed.
Ooh, Alaska! Shots fired.
We're going someday. We haven't made it there. So yeah, we just went mainly at the time because Chloe was younger and I was kind of more into cities and the culture, the museums and zoos because she was younger. That's mainly what we did. We would go into Chicago and St. Louis. St. Louis is always a very family-friendly city, and it's very easy to get around. Their zoos and their museums are free. The people of the city pay their own special taxes, where visitors who can come in, it's pretty incredible because
that is pretty cool.
To be
I
able
like a zoo.
to have,
I like a museum.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean all the museums, not just art, but history and science, and they're incredible if you've not ever gone. So
all right, St. Louis tourism. Go take the walking tour.
It's awesome. Yeah, and so I would always it's really important for her to understand, and just for myself too, how to use the metro system. So we would, at a very early age, I remember I said, "Where do you want to go on spring break?" And I'm crossing my fingers like beach, beach.
Right.
And she's like, "Oh, we're learning about the Supreme Court. Can we go to Washington D.C.?"
There's no beach in Washington, D.C., unless you go to the Potomac.
Exactly. So we head off to Baltimore, and we commute by train, and it was just a really good learning experience for both of us.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And this is mother-daughter.
Mother-daughter.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
poor Brian's
and
got to
no,
work.
Brian tags along sometimes, but yeah, you're right. Poor Brian.
Poor Brian.
He likes to refer to himself as Eeyore with the little cloud.
The what?
Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, no. Oh. This is my best Eeyore. Sorry.
It's a joke. We just have fun with it.
Oh, that's cool. Okay. Well, man, it sounds like you have a good life so far. So good. You got the husband. You got the Chloe, child number 1, born in '90, and you're traveling throughout these great United States. And where do we go from here, LynEtte Wyatt Mason?
Well, we went to Hawaii.
You went to Hawaii.
And then we had a little Maui Wowie, is what we call him.
What is
That'd be
that?
my son Wyatt.
Wyatt.
Then along came Wyatt.
And then along came Wyatt.
Yeah.
Okay, he was made in Hawaii, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Fantastical. Okay, all right, so it is a romantic island. So anything else happened in Hawaii, or was that the main thing?
No, lots of things happened in Hawaii. Have you ever been?
No, I've never
been to Hawaii?
No.
Do you want to go?
I do want to go.
Oh my gosh, I tell everybody, if you want to go, you have to go.
All right, I'll go.
Please go.
As soon as I get off work. Nope, that doesn't happen.
Got a day job. Yeah. So get a job at an airline.
I will. I'm going to have to do that. I'll be like my mama and my stepdad. He works at American.
Yeah.
So, yes,
Well, see, you've
they
got
fly
connections.
everywhere. And yes, I probably could fly to Hawaii pretty
could.
cheaply.
You totally could.
Being a level 2, I guess, on the airline.
You'd probably get, you'd be on standby for a while, but it's all good.
Have at least one person working in your family at the airline. You get cheap flights. How about that?
You get to fly standby.
There's a tip from Miss Wyatt Mason there.
So now there were amazing things to do in Maui. We did the road to Hana, which is incredible.
Okay.
That's just the scenic route that goes to the other side of the island with all the amazing waterfalls along the coastline. That was the island of Maui.
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 Okay. Okay, you said Maui Wowie, and yes, that makes sense.
Yeah, and so we did tons of tourist things that people do.
Luau, Poi,
without
Big
a doubt,
Roast, all
exactly.
that.
You name it all. Check, check, check.
Okay.
Yeah, awesome.
You checked all the boxes off the tourism in Hawaii.
We did.
All right. We all know what they are. Let's find out more about Wyatt.
Yeah.
I want to know.
Yeah.
All right. Baby number 2.
Baby number 2 coming along. He was a big, big boy. He weighed almost 10 pounds.
10 pounds.
Yeah.
That's a man.
Yeah.
Did Dad give out cigarettes to him, cigars to him too?
Exactly.
Hey, you're a man. Here you go.
Right off the bat. Boom.
Don't smoke. It's bad for you. Okay, next.
So Wyatt was born, and then there went my job. I'm like, no more travel. Screeching halt.
Okay.
But that was okay because I was committed.
But you were still able to work at the call center, or you had the 2 kids?
No, I
You stopped
I decided
stopped
to,
working outside of the house.
I did.
Full-time mama.
Full-time
Hardest
mama at
job
this
in the
point.
world.
Yes.
Yes. You're a doctor. You're a nurse.
Yeah.
You're a lawyer. Indian chief. All that stuff. Am I allowed to say Indian chief anymore? Probably not.
Oh,
I'm
probably
going to get in trouble for that one.
You might. I'm so sorry.
Oh, well. I blurbed. I never edit these things.
So many different hats for sure. Many different hats.
So motherhood full time.
Yeah.
Shifting into a whole nother part of your life. What year was this when Wyatt was born?
Wyatt was born in 2000.
Yes.
Yeah, and so 10 years apart. I have basically two only children. Or we do.
Yeah.
And but it was a good.
How did Chloe feel about that?
Chloe wanted it. Like she would sit on Santa Claus's lap and say, "I want a baby brother or a sister." Yeah.
Oh.
So she always wanted
for 10
a sibling.
years she wanted this.
She really did.
And
she really
she's got
did.
this.
She does.
How does she do helping out with the baby brother?
She was amazing. She's still amazing. She really is.
I already know she's amazing. You've talked so highly about Chloe.
Yeah.
So tell me about Wyatt.
So Wyatt is progressing. He was a little bit of we did have to have an emergency C-section. So he's kind of been a little difficult from the very beginning.
Okay.
But he, I'm glad I was able to be home with him because from the early stages of since his birth, I mean, he was a difficult baby. He cried a lot. I drove him around. I had a jogging stroller. I was teeny tiny because we just pushed him around in a jogging stroller basically all day. And then when that didn't work, I drove him around and just to get him to quit crying because he would never stop crying.
Wow.
But he did develop, like he hit all his milestones at a normal stage when he should be, hitting them. We joined a play group here in Maumelle. At that time, we lived in at that point we were here in Maumelle, and it was like a really incredible opportunity for all mothers at the time, especially. I don't even know if they're still active, but we have a Maumelle Mommy and Me, and that was just a group of women, stay-at-home moms, and then they break down into smaller groups and smaller play groups geared toward your age of your child, and just created some amazing friendships and bonds with those women and their families and their children. So that was kind of a lifesaver.
Yeah, had you had a lot of friends in this town before that?
Definitely.
I mean,
yeah,
because of the dress shop, I'm guessing?
Yes, wonderful. Yes, definitely. Good friendships, good relationships.
But you made some better or different relationships in the Mommy and Me?
It's a different season of life, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
People
I had
of like minds.
Chloe's friends and all her parents and her families and all those wonderful friendships, and then you have school and all those friendships and all those wonderful connections because, of course, through the years she's involved in swim team in the community, and she became a cheerleader, and
just so like Mama.
Well, we're different, but she stayed academically a little more on course than I did, and but she there were all those connections and all those friendships. But this was a new mom, new child, new way of life, being home full time. So yeah,
stay-at-home mom. And then Brian, how did he feel about this? I'm going to put my 2 cents. I'll recommend it. If you're thinking about becoming parents, if one of you has to work twice as hard to keep the other one at home, it's so good for the kids to have at least one parent, be it one or the other, at home with the children. It's so good for them. What do you think?
It's been a blessing for us. It's been a real big blessing for our family because Brian has, of course, made sacrifices, and I honestly remember when everyone had cell phones. I did not have a cell phone, we didn't do certain things, and we didn't eat out, and because we made sacrifices, because it was just we were trying to live within our means to be able to be able to stay for me to be able to stay home with our children and
so
take
what kind of work is Brian doing?
He's in grocery management.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Everybody needs groceries.
Yeah, we do.
Have you seen the size of me? I need groceries. I don't need that many groceries.
Yeah.
But yes. Excellent.
Yeah.
And so he's working hard outside of the house to provide. You're working hard inside the house to provide. And you're taking care of Wyatt. And you say Wyatt is progressing. How so? Wyatt growing up?
He's grown up meeting all his milestones. Like, we'd be in play group, and he's saying his basic simple words, walking, and, talking all at a normal age when he's supposed to be doing it. Okay. And then at the time we did not know they were seizures, but we now know since birth he was having seizures. And when he was just a few months old, we noticed, we were outside. He was born in June, so we were laying in the hammock, and he has this beautiful dark skin. He has this beautiful skin that tans very beautifully. And I noticed these white spots on his back, and I was very alarmed by them. And I took him inside, and they were more, you could see them really, with him being out in the sun and his skin a little red from the sun, you could really see the white marks. And so I called, of course, Brian, and had him come and look. And that was my first, indication. There might be something a little different. Something's wrong. And we took him to Arkansas Children's Hospital, and they did a skin biopsy.
How old was he at this point?
He was only a few months old at that point. And they did several skin biopsies on him, and he went to grand rounds And the doctor at the time told me what he thought that it was, but because the skin biopsies came up inconclusive, they couldn't for sure say what his diagnosis was. But he thought all along he had tuberous sclerosis, which is a genetic disorder. And so I was, as a young mother to Wyatt, I was basically panicked, and I was very fearful, and I was also very religious. I was very adamant in my faith that he will not have that.
Yeah.
And he will be well, and he will meet those milestones. So when I mentioned always meeting his milestones as a young mom, I was very pleased and thought, oh, we're doing good. We're fine.
Sure.
But because he was a boy and Chloe was a girl and it was 10 years apart, things were so different. All the signs that now I know were indications there was something that wasn't right.
Yes.
People would just say, oh, he's a boy, and it's, he had a girl, and they're all just different. But I now know that those were signs that he actually was not developing the way he should have, and he was having seizures at that time.
So, okay, so he was having seizures, and they think it was, what was the disease again?
It's tuberous sclerosis. And that's a genetic disorder. And he basically...
What does it do?
Well, he has benign tumors on his brain.
Okay.
Is what he has. And so at 3, he had a very severe seizure, and we took him back to Children's. And that's when he was diagnosed officially with that diagnosis.
So this doctor, back when he was a few months old, had it right.
He did.
Man, that's a good doctor.
Was a very good doctor. He's
Give
a
it up
skin doctor, yeah.
And how did that affect you? How did that affect Wyatt growing up, developing?
Well, he does not. He's not diagnosed with autism, but he's on the spectrum. So he had and still does a lot of sensory issues.
Okay.
And
autism is a blanketing diagnosis. There's many levels on the spectrum.
There are.
So high functioning.
No. And
how do you deal?
No. So basically, we were just pretty determined to get and seek all the help that Wyatt, that we could.
Yes.
And as his parents, and meet all of his health needs. And so he went. He's been through several different programs and therapies, and he went to elementary school and middle school. And he did well. I mean, he went through each of his grades. At one point, he had a para, which was those years were amazing. He had a para assistant who was with him in elementary school, and that was incredible.
But for the most part, regular classes with other kids, or he had his
in grade school it was regular classes with all the other students. But yeah, and then in middle school he was in a separate classroom.
Okay, and Chloe helping all the way?
Chloe helping all the way, but Chloe at this point's getting older. She left, at 18, and at 8, he's still very young. And so yeah. I don't know how far up you want to. How far we jump ahead. I'm ready to kind of jump ahead if you want to jump ahead into current day.
You go as far or as little. I mean, because you could help people deal with certain things. How you dealt with these issues. With Chloe, you had one type of parenting, and then with Wyatt, you had a different type of parenting.
I did, very much so.
Both types are a type of parenting.
Yeah, exactly. I very much did have two different types. I think ultimately, yes, that would be my goal, is to be able to help there be more of an awareness of people, children specifically, now, since Wyatt's 19, aging children who are now becoming adults into our world. Just more of an awareness and an understanding, which is why I started and created the Highways Hope and Homemade Cookies page.
Highways Hope and Homemade Cookies.
Exactly.
Now, Wyatt is 19?
He is 19.
19 years old.
Yes.
How is he living now? How is he doing?
He now lives with us.
Yes.
And he's still currently with us. When you are a family with a special needs child that is not able to live independently, you have to apply and get legal guardianship. So we are in that process. It's been a very long process. We have an attorney.
I'm sure before he was 18, you had started.
Well, we had to officially wait until he actually turned 18, but we started, the beginning stages of that. And so, yes, so we've already been to court, and we are his legal guardians. And so at this point now, I do my best job possible to keep Wyatt basically happy and teaching him life skills. And along with the whole idea of the Highways Hope and homemade cookies I've discovered in the last year and a half his love of travel. Okay. And so in our days, much like when he was an infant and a toddler and he cried all day.
Right, you put him in the stroller, or
I put him in the stroller, I drove him around, and that's what I do. And that's how I discovered that. I discovered about 2 years ago, he would be happiest listening, like a lot of teenagers, listening to the music and driving around. And I determined that the further we went and the more we could explore and the more that we could do, the more he was learning. And because Wyatt is verbal, but he's dealing with so many different sensory issues. Okay. He doesn't always talk all the time, and he's real repetitive, and he'll tend to repeat a lot of the same exact conversations. But every once in a while, there'll be a little blurb or a little tiny bit of information that he'll relay back to me where I know he's getting it. I know he's getting every single thing. Even when he's in the middle of a seizure and has a seizure, he tells me he hears me talking to him. And he says, "Mommy, it's okay. I hear you talking to me. I'm okay. I'm going to be okay." And so that is kind of bringing me to current day where I am now, and at the season that we are in our life right now, is we don't really know where our future's going to go with Wyatt and what that's going to look like for him. But I just really wanted to start this page and help make an awareness for anyone that's on any spectrum that their needs may be a little different, to continue and not give up and to find something like that one thing for them where you know that it's helping them and it makes them happy and that he's learning.
So how did you incorporate cookies into this? And that might be a rhetorical question because, hey, why not cookies?
Yeah.
But, yeah, so how did you start with the cookie making?
I've always made cookies. And
since Mama? Since
I was, I cooked for my family when I was a child. So I would cook our dinners, and I've always enjoyed cooking and baking, and I would enter contests, and I don't know, I've always loved to do it. And so we have a lot of days that are just slow. Mm-hmm. And if Wyatt's had a seizure that day, or he's having an off day, and he can't do anything because he had a seizure, or he's sleeping, I bake.
Does Wyatt like a cookie?
He really doesn't. That's what's so funny.
He does not like a cookie.
It has nothing to do with Wyatt.
Nothing.
He doesn't eat sugar.
That's why there's an "and" in the middle of that. Yeah. So Highways Hope would be Wyatt going through the highways, having some
with his mama, taking him around everywhere.
What kind of things does he like to see when you're taking those highway trips? Does he like to look off the side of the road and see trees, or do you stop and visit places? Yeah,
that's all different based on kind of Wyatt's needs for the day. And that's a real frustrating thing as a mama, because you want to push them.
Right.
And you want to encourage them, but you can't, especially after they become like in the mindset of like almost an adult, but he's kind of not an adult. You can't force him to do it. So that's a very frustrating part of our travels, is we've pulled up in the most amazing places in national parks and cities, and he will refuse to get out of the Jeep. Like, he absolutely will not move.
Not today, Mama.
Not today, Mama. Is not happening. But I'm not too discouraged, because this could be the day that he gets out. And I'm always proud of him for crowds are a real difficult situation. He could not sit in a restaurant like this. There have been times, and if he's having a really good day, he might. And we do practice, and we do encourage him to go out, and we do put him in situations that are uncomfortable for him. But this would be difficult for him to be. So if we went this summer to Hershey amusement park in Pennsylvania, and he did I mean, just the fact that he got out, it took 2 hours almost for me to sit there and wait for him to finally get out. But the fact that he got out and walked through all those crowds and got on a ride was just huge, monumental.
Got on a ride.
Yeah. It was a small child ride. It wasn't a big, huge.
Yeah, but still, these are milestones.
Yeah, they're huge for him to overcome all of those. And so, so that's why I do it, is because it's always constantly encouraging and pushing him. And he loves waterfalls, to answer your question. Waterfalls are probably his absolute favorite thing to go and see. And
so he'll get out for a waterfall.
He will get out for a waterfall. If he's having a good day and he's not having any issues, either physically or in his mind, he will, if it's especially, and that's what I do. That's where I do on my slow days. If I'm not in the kitchen baking, I am doing research. I'm constantly looking up things and learning of new places and that are accessible. And that would be a short hike. Like Tim Ernst has a hiking book that's just Arkansas waterfalls. So in the rainy season, that's what we're doing. And when everybody else is like, it's pouring rain, they're not out. I mean, some real waterfall hunters are out there, but
sure. He
loves it. Like we both, and my husband will go along a lot on those. He'll even take off work on a rainy day, and they know rainy day, waterfall season, we're out there. And
I know some photographers that look for things, natural things in this great state of Arkansas.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And I could see waterfalls up 65. But do you take pictures? And
oh, I do. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you like to do when you go see these waterfalls?
Yeah, it's just the thrill and the activity of actually going. I mean, you can't. Sometimes you can get your camera out, but I'm not going to risk my big good camera. But yeah, it's the act of doing it and being like ever present in the moment of the actual hike, and then getting to the waterfall, and then
experiencing the majesty of it.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, LynEtte.
Yeah.
And you've seen these things, and you've been all through these states. But how far have you gone with Wyatt? As far you're in Central Arkansas.
We are.
How far have you gone?
Yeah, this year specifically. Last summer we went as far as Glacier National Park.
Where's that?
Glacier National Park is in Montana on the Canadian border.
Oh, beautiful.
So,
okay.
yeah.
I've heard good things.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's gorgeous. And so my brother lives in Idaho, so we were staying with him, and I just looked it up, and I'm like, Travis, how far is Glacier? And it was about 7 hours. So I took Wyatt, and my nephew actually went with us on that trip.
Okay.
So that was pretty incredible. So
nephew on who's
on my brother's son.
Oh, yeah. Brother's
and
son.
So
okay.
yeah, so he went with us, and so that was last year. It's like as far north as we've been.
Perfect.
And then just recently we were on a trip, and Dad was along on this one, and we went across to California, up the whole coastline 101 through Oregon, California, Oregon, into Washington, over to Seattle, and then back down into Yellowstone, and then home.
Just the two of you?
All three of us.
Oh,
you got
Dad
tagged along on that one.
Oh, yeah. Dad did get it.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, Brian.
Yeah.
You got some time off.
Yeah, he did.
Good deal.
He did.
All right.
He did take it. And then we went earlier in the summer as far east as you can go. We went to Pennsylvania and went out to the coast, Virginia Beach, and all of that area.
So when did you start the Highways Hope page, and why? I know a little bit about the why, but when did you start that?
I actually started, it's kind of a sad story.
Please.
And that's where the hope kind of ties in. Wyatt is a part of a study. So he's on, it's out of Great Britain, and he was first introduced to the CBD oil about 4 years ago. And he started having, the seizures did lessen. I mean, he was having hundreds within a month type, time span. And so definitely the seizures did decrease, and the severity of them decreased. But we then have a whole nother set of problems, and there were a lot of behavioral issues. And so for about a year...
How so with the behavior? How did it change?
It changed like immensely.
Like angry?
Yes.
Like outbreaks?
Yes. And it became very physical. And no one ever thinks in their life, in all of their life, and this is one of the, other than privately with family or friends, I've never really spoke about it, but it was abusive. to not just himself, but to me and to my husband. And there's absolutely no one in this world wakes up one day and thinks, oh, I'm going to be in an abusive relationship. And they certainly never think they're going to be in an abusive relationship with their own child in any way. And we love our children, but we were living in fear, absolute fear. I mean, I would run to the bathroom and lock myself in the bathroom until my husband could come home. Or if Wyatt was having an extremely bad day, I would have to see my sweet husband be like physically hurt by my son. And we had amazing people who would come and help us. Our local police would come and help us. I don't want anyone to live in fear.
No.
And I was living in the dark, truly, with Wyatt on the couch one day. And the light was such a sensory problem for him at the time. And I truly, to give it to you visually, literally and figuratively sitting in the dark. We had even covered up anywhere that light would come through our windows, through our plantation shutters in our home. We would cover them. And I could only keep him calm. I had certain routines that would keep him calm. And I was sitting there one day in the dark, and I'm like, I have wonderful family, wonderful friends, but it's very isolating.
Yeah.
And you're mentally and physically being affected in every possible way. And I have always loved Instagram.
Yes.
And I had found myself withdrawing even from social media on Facebook.
Yes.
So, but creatively, my other Instagram account, I would be inspired, and I would see stories, and I would see visually places, and just the creativity and the support, the amazing support I feel like people give each other on Instagram is so complete opposite of what I see on social media through other forums.
You'd be surprised at how many people have just broken down to just Instagram because it's less drama.
It's just,
yes.
And so I had found myself withdrawing from that, and I just said, I want to tell this story. Yes. I don't want anyone to be sitting in the dark in any way. I don't want anyone to feel like they can't pull themselves up out of their pit. And so I started it. And if you go back, and I have not deleted them, if you go back on my account, it's June 22nd, 2018, and there's about 100 images that I was going to go back and tell the story to. And I posted them all on one day, and I'm like, I'm going to go back and tell the story. And they sat there for 6 months.
How many pictures did you post in one day?
Maybe about 100.
100 pictures.
I'm guessing. I'm not counting, but there were quite a few.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that's exact. Now I feel like I need to go back and count.
No, you do not.
But anyway, and I was just sitting there, and I'm like, I'm going to tell this story. But that account just sat there empty because I had to deal with our day-to-day. I was afraid to talk about it. And then at the beginning of the year, I'm like, when everyone's making a resolution, what are we going to do? How are you going to change? I was like, I have to do it. If I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. So I just started with a cookie. I baked them one day. I pulled them out of the oven. I knew that was the day. I knew it was the moment that sugar cookie melted on my tongue, and it tasted so good, and all that nostalgia that comes back. And I just stood there crying in my kitchen. I'm like, I can't. I'm so alone. I can't imagine other people feeling this sad and alone and living in fear and feeling like they have no hope. And so I'm like, by golly, I'm posting it. So I posted it. I posted that picture of that cookie and started telling my story. And it's little by little, I'll tell, some days I tell a little bit more. Some days I tell a little bit less and just say, happy Friday, have a great day. But then within that same time frame, I've been pursuing the travel more with Wyatt.
Yes.
And trying to set goals for us as a family and specifically for him. So yeah.
So that all started with the sugar cookie.
It all started with the sugar
Now,
cookie.
as a parent, with how you're dealing with Wyatt, you had choices to make. You could have put him in some kind of a home.
Oh my goodness, that's so amazing that you said that.
Or
we were told by everybody to do that.
Or you could keep him
The doctors
yourself.
told us, my parents, my mother hung up on me. My mother, who I love my mother very much. I know she loves me, and it was all out of love. But she hung up on me, saying bad words because of the situation we were in, and she was like so upset with me that we had not made that choice to do that for Wyatt.
But you did make a choice.
We did, and here's how Brian and I got through that. We both were adamant that if that was going to be the option for us, for Wyatt, for our family, we had to agree at the exact same moment, and we never did. And then a year ago, this month, we made a change in his medications.
Okay.
And it shifted.
For the better, for the worst?
For the very much better.
Okay.
Yeah.
And which doctor is on this one?
That's Dr. Mom.
Dr. Mom. See,
Dr.
another
Mom.
hat. Mother. Hardest job in the whole world.
No, listen to your instincts, mamas.
How did you learn? And are you adjusting the meds, or what are you doing?
Almost instinctively knew initially when our neurologist said, try this medication, it will help him calm. He's not sleeping at night. And truthfully, he was just on so many meds.
Yes.
And it was just, this medicine is supposed to help calm him and help him sleep. But it was just over the period of time, within a year, he just got so much worse that chemically everything was just off. Everything was off balance. And we had done absolutely every single thing that we could do. And I'm like, I sort of had that mom instinct, that gut. I'm like, I think it's a medicine. And once we had explored every single option and process of eliminated, then I went to that and tried that, and within weeks.
So is this taking some
medicine away? Mm-hmm. We took it out of his routine. And now a year later, we still have difficult days. We still have issues.
So no medicine now?
No, he's still on medicine.
Still
he's just not on this specific medicine.
My best friend in the whole world is epileptic, and he had plenty of seizures.
Yeah.
Fortunately, he got a brain surgery, and now he's seizure-free. And he's my age.
That's
best
incredible.
friend since high school.
Yeah,
so.
And he can drive now because he couldn't
driving.
drive. Yeah,
that's
a huge big deal.
And he's a cop. So
that's awesome.
Working for the police. I don't think he's a cop. But,
But he has a job.
But
and he is living a completely different lifestyle.
Any hope on the horizon in that respect? You cannot fix autism with a brain surgery. What can you do? What's the prognosis, Mama? Dr. Mom?
Yeah, I don't know. Nobody really knows.
Nobody knows.
So yeah, we really truly live day by day. And I mean, really, we never know. And that's why when we do travel, it's really incredible, because usually those days while we travel are better days than most. But fortunately, and being very blessed, we can be pretty flexible with our travel, because sometimes it'll take way longer than we think to get somewhere. So no, I don't know what the future is going to hold and what that looks like and what Wyatt's future is going to be like, or our future. But so we just pretty much live day to day. And I was just sort of thinking too, I kind of wrote down some thoughts just because, I think based on just the title of your podcast, like, what makes you famous?
Well, the radio station is Radio What. You could read it two ways.
Yeah.
What the station makes you famous, or what makes you famous.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I thought about it and prayed about it. I asked my husband, and he's like, "You're not famous." And I'm like, I know I'm not famous.
You're a little more famous than you were. As soon as you're on this podcast, in about a couple of hours when I put this online.
I'm like, of course, baby, I know I'm not famous. And so then I explained what the context was, and he says, so I'm going to give you what he thought, and then I'm going to give you some words from my best friend when I spoke with her. But here's what I feel like makes me famous, like in a nutshell.
Yes, LynEtte Wyatt Mason.
Not sure how to break it down and summarize it, because I feel like this already went on so long, and I don't want to lose people on this. So if I grab anyone's attention, I want to grab it by saying this, and this is how I feel about my life. And it's a quote from Elsie DeWolf. I'm going to make everything around me beautiful. That will be my life. And I love this because of the beauty that's in everything. It's the beauty in the brokenness, it's the beauty in the cracks, it's the beauty, if you don't have a crack, the light can't get in. And I just think about the darkness that I was sitting in. And there was no light. And I didn't even...
There was literally no light.
Literally no light. And I think about just the person that I am and that I was, and that what that experience did to me, and how you can almost lose yourself in that darkness. And I'm always like hoping for every individual person, whether you're a stranger or someone that I've known and loved forever. I want you to be able to just see the beautiful things that are in your life individually for you, Dan. Like you personally, what is your beauty, and what motivates you, what inspires you, what gives you passion, and what makes you truly want to get up the very next day and live for something, even when you feel like I just can't do it. Oh my gosh, these covers are so cozy, or my life is so bleak. I can't get up, but there's this one thing that makes you want to get up, and it's a beauty in something that lights that spark within you. And when I was talking to my husband, he said, I think for you, it's your compassion and for others. And I know that along my path that God designs us, and I was designed in a way that I do have compassion and see people and places in a certain way, that because based on my experiences with Wyatt and being a mother and being a wife, I really know what that pit is like. I really know what that darkness is like, and I know what it's like for someone to feel less than. And I also know what it does to me personally to feel isolated and alone and not have a spark. And so when I had the conversation with my friend, who I'm so blessed that she loves me so much, she was like, I want you to be able to say in some way, she's like, I'm not sure how you can convey it, but for people to know that when they feel like I just can't show up, or oh, I don't have that energy, or oh, I don't want to do that, that no matter what, do it anyway.
Yeah.
Buy those shoes, eat the cake, go for the hike, take the trip. It's just worth it. It's just always worth it. And you never regret it. And it was a really long process for me. And it was probably the year in my mindset where it all shifted, because I would think, oh, I can't leave my husband alone with Wyatt. Or I couldn't leave him alone when it was just Chloe and I and we were younger. And now with Wyatt, it's even more difficult, because there were situations where I thought, oh, he might get hurt. And somewhere I had this switch, this mindset. And I think it was around the time I hiked the Camino in Spain. I don't know if you're familiar with the Camino de Santiago.
I am not.
Please look it up.
No lo sé, pero podemos hablar español.
And
aquí.
it's a very long, extended hike that goes from south of France into Spain.
How far is this hike?
We only did the last portion of it,
How long
but it
is
was a week. We hiked about 20 and 25 miles a day.
Oh yeah, that's nothing, you know.
And so around that time frame, I was like, I am not going to get to do these things. And I am sad. And life is hard. And I could stay in that darkness. Mm-hmm. But I know that when my husband comes home and I have an opportunity to go out and be with friends and share in their life and what they love and their children's lives and whatever their activities or whatever it is that's happening in their lives, or I know that I can go and jump in my Jeep and I can drive wherever, and I have my own little routines that I know that I need for that day. If I need a 45-minute drive or I need a 10-minute drive to get me on a trail or get in my kayak, whatever it is, I know that I need those and I have to have them, and they're not selfish for me to go and to do those and to spend that time with those friends, and to spend that time alone, and that it's worth it. And so when my friend, when I were talking, she's like, just somehow be able to share that if you think you don't have that push or that desire, do it. Just do it.
You have you have a great family backing you up, and Brian, and previous to that it was Chloe when she was in the house, and that gave you a little bit of ability to break free for a moment. You are having a full-time job in raising Wyatt and making sure that his needs are taken care of, and for you to want to take just a few minutes, maybe even a few hours for yourself, that is not selfish at all. That is something that you need to keep your sanity.
You do.
It just, and I'm glad that you do have Brian, and I'm guessing that Wyatt's home with him right now. Yeah, and you took this day away from another activity where you could have been with friends and decided to tell your story on the podcast, and I appreciate that, and I hope that this story that you are having with a special needs child, you had Chloe, a child that grew up one way, the quote-unquote normal way, and then Wyatt that grew up a different way, a way that was more needy to you. He needs you more, maybe. Is that how you feel? Chloe needs you in one way, and then Wyatt needs you in this totally different way. And you're still at 19 years old trying to figure out what that way is.
I am.
Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I am.
I'm just trying to grasp it all, because you could conceivably say, and we've already gone through it, where you could say, hey, Wyatt needs to go to a home and have round-the-clock nursing, or he could stay with his family and you provide the care that he needs. You've chosen the latter.
Right. And we don't know that that's not going to be the best option for Wyatt later. We don't know that right now. I mean, we are certainly always exploring all those different options for him. And so, it might end up in a few years that he would do better socially and physically and mentally to be with others. So we're not ruling that out completely, but just at this point, we feel like this has been good for us and for him, of course. But yeah, I think when you were talking about the two different roles of parenting, a great example of that would have been this past Tuesday. My husband, while we were in Kansas City, said, why don't I take Wyatt to the visit? He had a doctor's visit at Children's Hospital, and he said, why don't I take Wyatt? I've always taken him.
Wow.
There was one time when we were in Hawaii. We've been we've been multiple times.
Okay.
And one of our visits to Hawaii, I'm not, maybe a little slightly. I'm trying to only say that because I want you to go.
Get to Hawaii.
If you want to go,
get to Hawaii,
please
people.
Go. Call the stepdad. Get the airline. Go. Because I could give you, we'll do it off the podcast, but I could give you a whole list of things and places to go that
you can do it on
incredible.
The podcast. That'll be the
well, I'm going to give Kauai
tour.
I'm going to give Kauai the big plug because that's our favorite island.
Okay.
It's the Garden Island, and it's incredible. But yeah, we were out on that trip, and my mom actually took him, and so that was the only other time I have not been there with him on the doctor's visits. And so my husband says to me while we were on this trip, he said, "Why don't I take Wyatt?" And I'm like, just looking at him like in awe, like what? I mean, he's certainly gone on visits that he could go on, but it's always me. I'm
You're
mom.
not saying
I'm
Brian's
mom.
incompetent that he can't handle it.
I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying we've never done it that way.
What a
Just
great
shaking
surprise
things
for
up.
you. That's great.
And it allowed me to be there for our daughter. And even though she's 29,
yes,
it worked out amazing. And that's just an example of our roles as partners, he and I, how wonderful that worked out. Because then I was freed up to be able to help her for her reveal party, for her to be able. So I was able to be there for her, help her decorate, and my son-in-law, and just be there emotionally and physically for her, and be present in that whole experience versus the stressors that come, even though we go to the hospital often. you still feel stress. You still have that anxiety.
Yes.
And so it was amazing example of how
You had some
we
time
partnered.
with Chloe and
Yes.
your son-in-law. I don't know his name.
Devin.
Chloe and Devin.
Chloe and
Congratulations
Devin.
on the new kid coming,
Yes.
the child. So that's wonderful. That's wonderful news. This is a wonderful time in your life. You just celebrated your anniversary in Kansas City, right?
We did.
That what it was? And so at some point, moms and dads need to be by themselves again and spend the rest of their lives together. So things might change with Wyatt's situation, with what you're doing.
It might.
You already have it kind of in the back of your head. Well, maybe that would be the best idea for him. But for right now, you're taking care of him. You're doing what you can.
We are.
And you've got this page that's sharing the story about you and how you handle things out there on Instagram, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So tell more. How can people get a hold of you, LynEtte Wyatt Mason?
Well, you can follow me on Instagram, Highways, Hope, and Homemade Cookies, all one word. And follow me. And if you look at one of my posts and it's way long and rambly, because I can be way long and rambly, but fortunately Instagram only lets you have so many words to be able to tell your story. You can always bookmark it and come back and read me later. You can follow along in my stories. That's really one of my most favorite things so far about Instagram. I love playing with the stories, the 24-hour stories. If you've missed one of my stories, I put it in my highlights.
Okay.
Currently in my highlights, I have just this past year of travel. I'm very grateful for all the years of travel that I've had without social media, because I've always been very, very present.
Yes.
It does tweak it and affect it a little bit now in my mindset, and I try not to let that happen. But it's kind of always in the back of my mind. So I know I'm probably going to share something, so I will be taking a video or taking pictures. But if you've missed one of my stories, they're in my highlights. I share some of my favorite places, and I like being creative with the music. I think music is such a big part of us and our souls and our life. And it's a beautiful way to be able to express ourselves. So I enjoy being creative with the music, and I feel like I'm telling little stories of our life, my life specifically, and a mood or a feeling when I put it to the music.
What was your music of choice over the last couple of 24 hours then?
Oh my gosh, the last one I did was the game in Kansas City. We went to a Royals game, and when we were younger, we used to go around and travel around to, and that's why we chose, I did actually maybe kind of for my husband, for Brian. I chose a game to celebrate our wedding anniversary. When he was younger, he went around with his close friend, our close friend of ours, and they toured all the ballparks. And they did for decades, and it was amazing, and it was awesome. And sometimes I stole away and went with them, but mainly they went by themselves, and I got to join in sometimes. And he had not been to Kansas City, so to a Royals game. So I said, baby, why don't we go to a Royals game? And he's like, I haven't been to that stadium. And so it was awesome. He caught a ball and a game ball. And the
great.
really, really cool thing about that is on our 20th, we were in Boston, and he caught a ball in Fenway. So we now have a game ball from Fenway Park. And for our 20th wedding anniversary, now we have one for our 30th.
It's amazing what a 50-cent ball you catch at a stadium can do. What a feeling that is.
It is. It's like
so
it has a
cool.
hole, and it brings out the worst in people. The woman who reached for it was quite. She wasn't quite as thrilled
I've
as
seen
we
kids
were.
getting stomped on.
Oh yeah, that was the thing too. My husband's like, "Oh my gosh, now I have to give it to a child." I'm like, I know, that's like the pressure.
Yes.
But I'm like, you just give it to me, baby. And
That's right. That's right.
Just lean down and give it to me.
I gave it to my wife.
Exactly.
Look at that. All right, crisis averted.
Exactly. And so, what was the music? Lynn, "Still My Sunshine."
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, we were in.
I like the video to that too.
Yeah.
And their brother and sister.
Yeah.
You kind of wonder in that video, are they
What's going on there?
husband and wife?
Yeah,
boyfriend?
but it's such
No,
a.
they're brother and sister.
Exactly. Yeah, it's such a happy that great beat, and it's uplifting, and it's they seem to play it at all the ballparks, so I went with that because it's a good memory of me too, because for me personally too, because it was also We were at a Lakers game.
Excellent.
So, and it's just, I have that memory in my mind, too.
That was the kind of music I was playing as a baby DJ.
Exactly right. It's so good. Yeah, you would know all music. So who are you listening to? What's on your spin?
Well, lately I'm listening to Madonna, Crazy for You.
Oh, that's playing right here. Exactly.
That's playing right here at U.S. Pizza, still hanging out in Maumelle, Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I appreciate you, LynEtte.
Well, thank you, Dan.
LynEtte Wyatt Mason, telling your story. You've had good times, bad times. You started, you know, from humble beginnings at a small school,
tiny town.
and here you are in the big city, Little Rock, Arkansas, North Little Rock, Maumelle, somewhere in that area. But you're doing good things, and you have a story to tell, and you want to share your story with people, and maybe it'll help someone.
I hope
Cope with what they're going through.
I hope.
And I don't think you have to hope, because yes, your whole story. Are people responding? Are you getting any emails from this so far?
I get so much. That's like one. This is what I tell my husband and my friends all the time. I am blown away. Again, I told you the Instagram community is so supportive and creative. I cannot believe the support. And the things that happen behind the scenes. Like, it's so cool. Like, the people that do reach out to me, yes, they do, to answer your question.
Yes, that's
that
what I was
say,
hoping
I have
for.
a son, you know, that's autistic, or I hear everything. I've heard everything. And so those messages that come to me when I click on and I see the little red numbers up in the corner, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and I read those, and I'm like, all I wanted to do was just be able to reach one person and let one person know. And so, yes, thank you for asking. Very
You're doing
much
the
so.
job.
Yeah.
And does it feel good to you to share the story and to touch lives and to kind of have a cyber arm over their shoulder and give
be
them
their
a
cheerleader?
hug? Yes,
Yeah.
and be their cheerleader.
Yeah, and
going back to the glory days.
Yeah, and if you go back through and ever read any of my comments, I'm all about the cheering them on and a hug. I want everyone to have that virtual hug, that cyber hug over the waves and through their phones and through their computers, and just know that I am loving on them from a completely different side of the world or right here within our state and within our town. I'm loving on them through that screen, and I want them to feel that hug.
LynEtte Wyatt Mason, any last words for the people? Anything else you want to tell?
Oh, don't stop exploring.
Oh, you want to keep going?
I want to keep going.
Go forever and
no,
ever
no,
and
no,
ever.
I'm kidding. I'm just saying,
you know what I
don't
did
stop.
want, speaking of forever and ever and ever, amen. I do want to explore, you were talking about your faith. Who instilled the faith in you? Was that from a young age, or is that something that you've discovered lately?
No, all my life.
All your
my
life?
My mother.
Mother with the earth science. See, that I don't know where the earth science could be science, or it could be the earth, or it could be something totally different. See where my mind goes. So has faith has always been a part of your life? How
It
so?
It has. Just growing up, just as a young child, we went to church, vacation Bible schools, huge part of my life. Was a member for a lot of years at a church here locally that I loved being involved in. We haven't gone for quite some time, simply because I'm being a little stubborn. I want to go with my family. I know I could go by myself, but I do so many things by myself, and Sunday is the only day I have my husband, the only day, because he's a retail guy.
Let's get in that family bubble and have a good time together.
Yeah. It's our only day. It is the only day that I get to wake up with Sunday snuggles, and I haven't let it go. Yeah.
And are these cookies available to the public? I'm going to have to ask that.
Oh, no. But if you know me, I'm going to make them for you. Thank you. Yeah. No, if you know me, I will. I tell people all the time I'll mail them to them, but no, they're not something that I sell. But I will share a fun little thing that we do. I, on occasion, will make them. And because we couldn't possibly eat them, and Wyatt doesn't eat them, and my husband can only eat so many, Wyatt and I will bag them up in little bags like this, and we have a little stamp that says you are loved.
I have a care package of cookies.
And we have a little stamp that says you are loved, and we will put them in a little basket, and we'll drive downtown, and we'll take them, and we find people to pass them out to. And
that
you should.
makes my heart feel good. I know it's got to make your heart feel good.
Well, what makes me feel the best,
Tell me.
the absolute, is
Tell me, LynEtte.
Wyatt went on the spectrum. One of their sensory. A lot of children and adults will flap they have the little hand flap. We call it Wyatt's hand dance. And he will do his hand dance. He'll go, "What do you think about that one, Mama? What do you think about that one? Do you think they'd want some cookies?" And I'm like, "Yes, buddy, I do." And he's like, "But Mommy, I'm shy." I'm like, "Baby, you can do it." So again, I'm still teaching him, you can do it, step outside your comfort zone. And he doesn't have to talk. I'm like, "Baby, they don't want to talk. You don't have to talk. If they smile and talk, just smile and talk back." And sometimes he will, and sometimes they do, and that's really cool.
Right.
But most of the time, not at all. He just rolls down the window and reaches out and hands it to him, and then they smile. And he's like, "Mama, they're so happy. They liked it." I'm like, "Buddy, they do." And then he does his happy dance. And that's what it's all about.
That's cool. And you mentioned, I don't know anything about CBD oil or how that affects the mind or the people. I've heard about it. And, all right, full disclosure, I'm for legalization. I've never smoked marijuana.
Me either.
Ever.
Which was a really hard obstacle for this mama. I mean, but it's not the same. It doesn't have the chemicals in it that give you that high.
I know that
we all
THC
know that.
gets taken away.
Exactly.
And so tell me how CBD affected the way Wyatt was when he was growing up, and how early was it that you?
He's only been 4 years.
4 years that you've been kind of on a. How often does he take the CBD? Or
twice a day.
And is it like a drop or two?
It's an oil.
An oil.
In a syringe. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's based on his weight.
That
his size and his
gets
weight.
rubbed or
No,
injected?
he takes it. It's a syringe that he actually takes through his mouth orally.
Orally, and how did you notice a change 4 years ago to now with the CBD oil? I guess how did that affect him?
Our neurologist approached us. That he came to us, and Wyatt was he was a perfect candidate to be a part of the study. So that's how we came to know about it and be a part of it. Yeah.
So you had medical supervision, and they were all for it. Mm-hmm. And thankfully, you had that tool that was able to give him some comfort or affect his well-being. Mm-hmm. in positive ways.
Oh, in a very positive way. Yes.
Very good.
Very much so.
All right. Well, you got the notes. You've given me so much of your time away from Brian and Wyatt so far. But if you've got other avenues to explore of the LynEtte, Wyatt, Mason world, go for it.
I don't want to have
tell me everything.
Oh no, I feel like I don't want it to linger on too long because your listeners are going to be.
I've done 3 hour and 45 minutes. I think on Monday I did one and it was great.
I could probably break that record.
Let's do it.
Because I could talk forever.
This thing will last forever.
I don't want to do that.
We'll split it into 2 or 3. Whatever.
2 or 3.
No, and down the line, if things change, or if you do have other ideas or other stories that may help other people or help people in your journey, not just with Wyatt, but with your cookie making, and maybe by that time you might have explored some cool things with Brian and Chloe with her new child and her new adventure that she's having. If you want to come on and tell more things, I invite you to.
I would love that.
I would love that too.
Because you're going to get more cookies.
She found me out. That's what I wanted. It was all for the cookies.
Exactly.
I saw cookies at the end of her Instagram, and I said, "Ooh, I'll probably get free cookies out of this one." All right. So, any last words that you want to tell the people, LynEtte, Wyatt, Mason, anything else that you want to give them, words of advice that have helped you?
No, I think it would just be again, I guess I just keep coming back to the days that just feel I don't know, there's the days that sometimes you pray more than you breathe, and those are just whatever hardship it is that you're going through, don't do it alone. Just don't do it alone. There's always somebody who would love to be able to help you, and just use your voice and speak up and just let them know that you need help.
Class of 86 rules.
Yes, it does.
Well, there you have it, party people. Lynn, Wyatt, Mason, Highways Hope, and homemade cookies. Now you know why it's Highways Hope, and now you know that there's homemade cookies involved. And if you're nice to her, maybe she'll send you some cookies. But get to know Lynn, Wyatt, Mason at least as good or better than I have known, that I now know Lynn Wyatt Mason. She had a story to tell, ups and downs. Man, you know, you take a situation and you work with it. You do it. And she has a good teammate in her husband. And before that, before her daughter got old enough to move out on her own, also was helping out as well. So families, they come in all shapes, all sizes, all different types. And Lynn Wyatt Mason told me and told us a little bit more about who she is and how she's handled her situation. And with the Highways Hope and Homemade Cookies Instagram page, she is telling the story and helping other people out and letting other people in her situation know that they're not alone. You are not alone. You have people. There are people that you can reach out to for help always. So when you're in despair, hey, reach out. Reach out a hand. Somebody's going to help you. I believe people are wonderful. She started her life out as a cheerleader, and she's still a cheerleader for the people. Thank you so much for spending some time with us here on the What Makes You Famous program. Lynn Wyatt Mason. All right. That's it for this edition of What Makes You Famous. If you'd like to tell your story, I encourage you to give me a call at 501-470-6386 or email info@radiowhat.com. That's it for me. It's Keys Dan, radiowhat.com, djlittlerock.com. Peace. I'm out of here.
Radio What? The music you want with some great quotes. A manager has his cards dealt to him, and he must play them. Miller Huggins. The music you want. RadioWhat.com.
Hey, Keys Dan. What you doing?
My line.
I'm playing the best music by request. 24 hours a day. Click on the request tab at the top of RadioWhat.com.
RadioWhat.com.